All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a pretty common headache for anyone who manages, well, basically any complex system, getting all your monitoring data into one place. We're going to look at a really powerful feature in Amazon CloudWatch that promises to do exactly that.
Does this scene feel a little too real? You've got one dashboard open for your AWS stuff, another one for your Prometheus metrics, maybe a third for your database, and you're just constantly flipping between tabs trying to connect the dots when an alert fires? Sound familiar? Yeah, it's a huge pain. But there is a much, much better way.
So, what's really going on here? Well, it all comes down to a classic problem: data silos. When the metrics for all the different pieces of your application live in their own separate little worlds, trying to correlate events becomes this slow, manual, and honestly, super frustrating process. You're burning precious time just trying to piece together a story that your data should be telling you automatically.
Let's just put these two worlds side by side, right? On one hand, you have the old, siloed way. It's slow, it's fragmented, and it forces you to be an expert in a dozen different tools. But then, you get a unified view, and the whole game changes. This isn't just a small improvement, it's a total game changer. We're talking faster resolution, one console to rule them all, and finally getting those holistic insights you've been chasing.
Okay, so how do we actually get to that beautiful unified view? The answer is a feature inside CloudWatch called Multi-Source Query. It's designed to be that single pane of glass we're all looking for, letting you pull data from all sorts of places directly into your CloudWatch environment. Now let's break that down, because this is really important. This is not about some massive, painful data migration project. No way. It's all about connecting to your data right where it lives. You can query it, you can slap it on your dashboards right next to your EC2 metrics, and this is the big one. You can set alarms on it no matter where that data actually comes from. It's all about creating one single consolidated monitoring experience.
You're probably wondering how this all works without some kind of complex data pipeline, right? Well, the mechanism behind it is surprisingly elegant, and you know what? It's totally serverless. Let's peel back the curtain and see how the magic happens.
Here's how it all happens, and it's pretty slick. When you decide to add a data source, CloudFormation kicks in and deploys a dedicated Lambda function just for it. Then, every single time you query that data from a dashboard, or an alarm checks it, boom, CloudWatch triggers that Lambda. The function zips over to the external source, fetches the data on demand, and sends it right back to CloudWatch. It's super efficient, it scales, and you only pay for what you actually use.
All right, so you want to get started? The absolute easiest and fastest way is to use the pre-built connectors that CloudWatch gives you right out of the box. For most of the common data sources you can think of, there's a guided wizard that makes this whole process incredibly simple.
And the list of available connectors is pretty impressive. It covers a huge range of use cases. You can pull in metrics from Prometheus, query data from other cloud providers like Azure, or even run SQL queries directly against your RDS databases. It's all possible through this one central hub in CloudWatch.
Seriously, the setup is dead simple. We're talking just a handful of clicks. You just head over to Settings, pick your data source from the list, plug in some basic info like credentials or an endpoint, and CloudFormation just takes care of the rest. It builds that Lambda and all the IAM rules for you. It's designed to get you from zero to graphing in literally minutes. Okay, the pre-build stuff is awesome, but what happens if your data source isn't on that list? Well, this is where things get really powerful. You can actually build your own custom connector for pretty much any data source out there that has an API. So you've got two main ways to go about this. You can use a template that AWS provides either in JavaScript or Python. This gives you a massive head start. You get sample code, and it handles a lot of the permission stuff for you. Or, if you need total control and maximum flexibility, you can build the whole Lambda function completely from scratch.
So the absolute core of any custom connector is understanding how it talks to CloudWatch. Think of it like this. CloudWatch sends your Lambda a little message, a request, called the Get Metric Data event. It's basically just asking a question. Hey, can you go grab me the data for this specific time range and at this interval? And your function's entire job is just to understand that question, get the right data from your source, and send back the answer. That's it.
Okay, a quick heads up. When you're building these custom functions, there are a few rules you gotta play by. The response you send back has to be under 6 megabytes. And for dashboards, your function needs to finish its work in under 10 seconds. For alarms, it's even tighter, under 4.5 seconds. Now, these limits are there for a reason. They make sure your dashboard stays snappy and your alarms are actually responsive.
So, we've talked about the how,
But what's the payoff? What do you get at the end of the day? You get a true, unified command center for all of your observability data. This is why you do it. This is the big prize.
So what does this command center actually let you do? Well, for starters, you can query everything in one spot, using native languages like PromQL or SQL. Imagine building graphs that mash up your EC2 CPU usage right next to your application metrics from Prometheus. You can even set alarms on data that doesn't even live in AWS. It all comes back to solving that problem we started with, finding and fixing issues way faster than before.
You know, you don't even have to take my word for it. The documentation itself just nails it. The whole point is to give you a single, consolidated monitoring experience. It's all about seeing the whole picture so you can identify and resolve issues faster. Simple as that.
So, I'll leave you with a question to chew on. Once you tear down those data silos, once all your different data sources finally start speaking the same language in the same place, what new patterns are you going to find? What hidden insights are just waiting there to be discovered? Think about it. Thanks for tuning in.